All right, everybody. It is November 22nd, 2022, and this is the bi-weekly Cloud Custodian community meeting, the meeting where we have high bandwidth conversations on anything related to Cloud Custodian. I've posted if you're new here, I've posted the meeting notes here, and we do publish. Actually, let me go through my intro spiel. We are a CNCF project, so we do fall under that code of conduct. So please be excellent to each other, and please be cognizant that we do record these meetings and publish them on YouTube publicly, and then add them to a playlist. So if you're looking to catch up, the YouTube playlist is the way to go on the Slack channel. If you're on the Slack, at the top, I've got a link of all the resources you should need, from the YouTube channel to the notes archive and all that kind of good stuff. With that, I recognize some new faces. So, if anyone want to do introductions? Mike, I think you were the first one here earlier today.
Fantastic. Good day, community. My name is Mike Rosenberg. I'm coming to you from beautiful Granger, Indiana. If you're a college football fan, I'm about 5 miles from Notre Dame Stadium. I work for Nubank, and we're a fintech unicorn out of South America. We're based in Sao Paulo, Brazil. We have about 70 million customers. We're almost 99% on AWS, a little bit of GCP. We're going to be embracing Cloud Custodian here in our 2023 roadmap, and I'm here to join the community and hope to learn and both contribute. I've got a background as an engineer and as an accountant, so I speak debits and credits and bits and bytes, and I kind of live in that little world in between the two. And thank you for just being here and having this community. It's wonderful.
You went on mute there, George, but welcome, Mike.
Yeah, welcome. Anyone else want to introduce themselves? You don't have to if you don't want to, but.
Hi, folks. I am Sarang. I work at Sysdig as a senior infra engineer. Been a part of Sysdig for almost 3 years at this point. We are across multiple cloud providers. So I manage the infra in AWS, GCP, and IBM Cloud. And we are starting to venture out in Azure as well. I personally work mostly on the on the AWS and GCP side of things. I've been a user of Cloud Custodian for about 5 years at this point and really love the tool. I came across the community itself at KubeCon earlier this year, and I'm really looking forward to actually being an active member in this community.
Excellent. Welcome. Anyone else want to say hi?
So I was on last week, but I don't think I really introduced myself. I know a bunch of you guys already, but for those that I don't know. So I'm Mike Ripps. My title is Principal Security Architect at Educational Testing Service. You may be aware of ETS from things like the GRE or TOEFL, and sorry or you're welcome, depending on your outcome. And so I guess I've been using Cloud Custodian probably about 2 years or so now, much more intensively in the last year. I've been trying to contribute back my long-term histories as a software developer for more decades than I care to remember. The last 15 years, I've been tarred with the security architect epithet, but after a few too many years of going to meetings and drawing boxes and lines and arrows, I decided that was no longer particularly interesting. So I try to be a practitioner now, and I am more or less responsible for an AWS estate of about getting close to 90 accounts now, and a bit of Azure. We have probably about a dozen Azure subscriptions with various things in it. So we're looking to leverage Cloud Custodian to manage all of it.
All right.
I once got asked if I was an architect. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, I like to go build stuff. And they're like, it was a I think it's always good to make sure you're practicing your technical skills.
Yeah. You can't architect your way out of a wet paper bag if you don't actually know how to do it. So I decided I would rather. It's much easier to do it than it is to go to meetings and tell people what to do. That's sort of my philosophy.
Yeah. Anyone else want an intro? All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. One second. I just got to find the minute. Okay, not that button. Sorry about that.
I see two of you now.
Yeah, he'll time out. Can someone paste me the URL to the notes again? Thank you. Let me just share those real quick. Sorry about that. The recording is still going at least. Okay. All right. So the way it works is I have a template for how we run the meeting, and generally speaking, it's an open agenda. Usually earlier, we meet every other Tuesday, and earlier in the week on the Monday, I'll post a draft notes. And I have a script that kind of shows you all the activity that we have going in Custodian over the last 2 weeks. So that's incoming pull requests. Here it reads better that way. So we have incoming pull requests that are closed, and ones that might be outstanding. And then what happens is anyone can edit this if you just log in with your GitHub or whatever account, and then people go and they'll add these little explosions throughout the pull requests. And what we do is we go through an open agenda, and we usually do things like a release status, or we have an event coming up, like say reInvent. And then we kind of have a working meeting on PRs that you might be working on that you need some attention to, or maybe you worked on a feature that needs that kind of high bandwidth discussion. So we just kind of go through that agenda. Usually I tell people if they have something on fire, let me know early. And we can like prioritize that accordingly. But feel free to, as we start going through the stuff, don't feel inclined that you have to stay for the whole meeting, because we do publish the video and the notes. But this is also a good opportunity if you have a thing that's blocked, or maybe you'd like to get more eyes or an opinion on something. That's the way to go. So let me get the easy ones out of the way. We're still testing Slack. We've had Getter up for a while, and we have that there. So I'm just kind of leaving that link there in the notes, so as we publish that, people understand. And then release update from Sunny.
Yeah, so we are aiming to do a release post reInvent. So the 9/21 is not going to be going out until I guess at least 2 weeks from now.
Oh, is that it? That was fast.
Yeah.
All right. And there's pull 8011 there that Kapil had mentioned. I put that link there, Sunny. I don't know if you're have seen that yet. Cool thing of the week. This is something that slipped under my radar. We did have a pull request from October as part of the Hacktoberfest from a student who was given an assignment to contribute to an open source project, and we merged it. So I thought that was cool, and it did lead me to two things. Number one, as far as open source projects go, if you want to learn things like Lambda using Python, Custodian's a great place to start. And something I think that we could all do a better job as is we actually do have help wanted issues that that people have tagged that might be a good first bug or something for someone to work on. So just kind of like a general custodian announcement that remember that we have that tag, and if you as you're working on something, if you see it, if there's something that you feel might be useful for a first time contributor, or maybe you don't have the expertise to get that, you can always add that help wanted there. So we've got a bunch of those. It probably doesn't, some of these are from 2016, so the tag probably could use a scrub if anyone's looking to dive in. You don't need to ask for permission for that. Yeah, as a project, we have kind of stopped, but I figured it wouldn't hurt to mention that we do have it, and then let's see where we go from there. So if anyone's interested on that, I run weekly stats that I just kind of put here on the notes on the amount of PRs and stuff that are coming in, and that kind of finish the agenda. Before we get into the open PRs, does anybody have anything on fire, any outstanding issues that they'd like to discuss other than reInvent in 2 weeks? I think a bunch of us will be there. All right, let's look at some of these open PRs. The first one is 7988. Who's this?
I think all of these from us Intuit folks here.
Okay.
This one is to, I believe, enhance annotation with some additional information. Kapil was saying that the unit test was actually missing. So I believe
I think this was straightforward besides that. So
yeah. Yep, we have added the unit test with the proper recording here. I just need someone to take a look.
Anyone got cycles to take a look at this one?
Sure. I'll take a look at this one.
All right. The next one, list DB instance option groups.
I believe this one, the idea is similar to what we already have with DB parameter groups. Now we're just doing the same thing, but for option groups. It was, yeah, in terms of testing, there was not good testing. So I have been working with the engineer to improve the test, and it should be ready for final review.
Anyone got time for this one? Are these all RDS? No, just these two are RDS.
Yeah, so Darren, what was missing on that one? I saw that you were saying that you wanted other people to take a look at.
Oh no, it just test was bad. Test was failing. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sonny, you got cycles to look at this one?
Yeah, I was going to take a look at this one and the rest stage WAF v2 one today.
Okay, we'll get to the WAF one. Looks like you'd already started to take a look at this one.
Yeah. I think AJ has some comments where I responded. And I think AJ is now okay with this, but since Sunny has kind of reviewed it at the beginning as well, I think we're just waiting for Sunny to give the final approval as well.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'll circle back on that. I think I lost a bit of context on that.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while since I looked.
This one I think we've seen before.
Yeah, Kapil has given the feedback on turning this into a filter on the account resource rather than creating a new resource. So we have done that. The unit tests were bad, so I've been working on improving the unit tests, and it's now in a good state. If someone can take a final look.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll grab that one. Have a look after that other one.
Two more. Y'all on a roll this week. With Manage config rule?
Yep. Still waiting for someone to review.
Okay.
Okay, so this has been on my plate for a little while. If anyone else, I'm going to put it back in the queue just for anyone else to have a look at it. So I can make time, but I also want to make sure that if there's anyone else has an opportunity to look at it, that they have a chance.
All right, we'll see how that one goes then, based on your time.
That big 4,000 line.
Well, yeah, with the holidays and reInvent coming up, I'm cognizant of you know,
Mhm.
volunteering for every single review, and then we end up in that the few, but maybe if we can get at least most of these. WAV v2, is this the one you were talking about, Sonny?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Any comments on this one, or it's just pretty straightforward? I think.
I think it
Yeah,
was
this
just,
one.
No,
This
go ahead.
one's pretty. I was just gonna call out that this one will be kind of high priority for us. We got a bunch of policies that are kind of dependent on this, so yeah, would be great to get some eyes on this one.
Okay. And Sonny, you said you're gonna try to look at this one today?
Yeah.
All right. Next we have 8001, handle optional extras and gen frozen setup.
Yeah, I can talk about that one. So that
Yeah.
that one is that we had added, since we've added some extra support like GCP and Azure support for Mailer, we've made those provider packages now optional, so that if you try to run Mailer for Azure and you don't have the package installed, it'll emit a warning and say, "Hey, install with this extra instead." And the thing is that because we weren't using extras in any other of our sub projects, we some of the custom poetry tooling we have wasn't accounting for extra dependencies. So this is just a fix to catch that. And just a note, in case anyone else runs across Mailer issues that seem related to that extra provider stuff, there may be some edge cases we haven't caught yet. So just eyes open.
And there was, oh, it's actually the next one. There was ramifications for the Docker image in this as well, right?
There was, yeah, that was a related piece. We got and this goes back to Slack actually, because we've been we're starting to see more of our questions shift from Gitter to Slack, which is probably a good thing. And someone was seeing some symptom of this, of that the extra provider extras not being installed. When there was an install during the Docker build, it was installing some packages and then removing them again, so that when the mailer went to run, it would say, "Hey, there's no package resources in this, no package resources available, can't import it," which looked confusing at first, but it was because of that extras piece. So both of those should be resolved now.
Cool. Any questions for AJ on that? And then package increment and package rebase. This is just part of the release, Sonny?
Yeah. This is just the standard release PR stuff. It also includes a test to ensure that the Pi project toml matches the setup PY, which some people noted in 920 that when they did a pip install upgrade, custodian -- version didn't change. So this test will make sure that the version in Pi project matches what we're saying.
Got you. All right. Any questions for Sonny on that one? This one's a roll-up one. I think, is this yours, AJ?
No, that's Mike Cripps. I may have boomed that one though, just because I wanted to say thanks for working on it, because that when I saw the PR come in, I was planning to comment on it and say, hey, you know, it might make sense to try to break this up into separate PRs, separate smaller PRs, but then all the functionality in there looked good. So I know we're working through a few things, and Mike, if there's anything that you want to bring up to talk through here, that's cool. Otherwise, just want to say thanks for working on it because it fixes a few annoyances.
Yeah, I thought about doing separate pull requests, but there are, 3 different things going into the same file, and then my branches get really complicated. So it was easier just to do it all at once because I need all 3 of them. I was just testing your one comment about combining the 2 API calls together. Like I said, I think it's not going to work, that there's some hidden thing in the AWS API that will not let you add and remove permissions at the same time. But if I'm wrong, I'll fix that. So I'm technically off this week, so I'll get it all fixed up and pushed probably Monday when I'm officially back.
Nice. Well, thanks.
And happy to contribute. More to come.
Thank you. Is this the deprecation feature, like Thumper's deprecation feature, AJ? Like, is this the deprecation
using
framework?
that. This is setting deprecation on AMI. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was gonna say this is the very first time we've actually used it.
It's
in the
both.
PR since it landed.
Guinea pigging the deprecation framework, and you can now deprecate.
Yeah.
APIs.
So I'm taking a screenshot because the guy who wrote it, he's always asking me, we should use that more. So I'm gonna give him the good news. Thanks for that. All right, let's see what else we got going on. Bunch of stuff. 7889 use case insensitive checks for allowed conditions and cross account filters. Oh, this was the one that was done by that student. I just wanted to give him a shout out that they have that here. So I just thought that was really cool. And let's see, any outstanding issues that are biting anybody?
So if we got time there, I think we might have briefly talked about it last time. The issues with some of the filters where if there's a access denied error, it bombs out, like for S3 permissions, what do you call it?
Checking the bucket policy.
Yeah, it was the ownership controls.
Yeah, we've hit that
bucket
before as
encryption.
well.
So I started working on them, but I was curious about conceptually, like there are different ways you can handle it. I was just wondering if there was a right way of handling things like that so that I don't, develop some code only to have you guys tell me, no, we got a better way of handling it.
Yeah. Do we have a bug issue idea, or what am I searching for? Maybe might help us.
Yeah, it is. So if you search for S3 access denied.
Yeah, I've run into this before. One of the things that has come up was the addition of the annotation C7 access denied on the resource comeback. That'll at least give you a starting point in terms of identifying who you need to talk to say, hey, you got to make sure your bucket policy stays open for Custodian to inspect. The other thing that you could do is potentially have a Lambda trigger on put bucket policy, and I guess like notify people like, hey, you got to make sure that your bucket policy isn't too restrictive. But if they apply the bucket policy and you can't look at it, it's going to be hard to write an effective one. Write an effective policy, I guess, to check that. But that's what I've seen before, and it generally comes down to like, unfortunately, having to notify users explicitly that like, your bucket policies are way too restricted for us to run our compliance stuff against it.
Yeah, and I kind of came to all those same conclusions. And it's actually nice to be able to reach out to somebody to say you've made it too secure instead of not secure enough. But I'm concerned that, some of the Cloud Custodian checks will just not run through to completion in the interim while people have screwed up bucket policies. So it's easy enough to add a thing that says, hey, don't error out if it's access denied for these few filters that make individual API calls. See, the difference between like check public block and Some of the other S3 filters is they're not all grabbed at the beginning and they're not all annotated with the C7N access denied. So philosophically, if I just ignore the access denied error here, it winds up matching this policy. So it shows that your check public block controls are not set correctly, which may be true, may not be true. We don't know because of the access denied. Me, I'm fine with that because that means it's going to be on a list to go and check out, right? And that's kind of what I was getting at. So Kapil raised his hand. That's what I was getting at. Like, is there a philosophy on what to do? If there's an error evaluating a policy, do you consider it a match or not a match?
I think there's a couple different ways to skin the cat. I think there is a more general question about how do we handle resource errors. And if I go back through, I think Todd Sansel, who's maintainer at 23andMe, had proposed like that we actually track resource level errors for whatever reason. And actually stick those in object storage outputs, structured outputs. And I think that actually makes a lot of sense. It does require it's a long tail goal, let's say. It does require sort of some degree of like core infra and refactoring on extant, let's say, to get that wound through. The flip side, at least in this particular case, and I think that's something we should drive towards. But in sort of the more immediate, like, hey, I'm dealing with this issue. What are the options per se? Then there's a notion of using check permissions on the IAM role the custodian's running on as to validate that it has permissions. Doesn't operate well in this particular case, but it can operate like in this particular case because of resource level permissioning being the primary grant or deny. But it does operate from a more general perspective on like what permissions does the executing role have enough permissions to execute these policies, let's say. The other part, like, yeah, I don't know that we have a great other answer out for this particular one on check public. Some like, well, actually, let me. So I identified the notion of having this generic notion on policy level errors. Right now, we do have a notion of like on a one-off basis around like action and filter level errors, like that generate outputs, but it's not like holistic. And so in that context, doing a one-off check here so that you can actually have some sort of output on that, it is potentially useful, where effectively the action itself has behavior that is recording those things and outputting them as well. I don't know if any of that made sense. So
I heard that as go ahead and put in the check to sort of ignore access denied. And if it, I guess, do you mark an object with a resource policy that is too restrictive? Do you mark that as having matched the filter or not matched the filter when you hit the access denied? Is kind of what I was getting at.
If you want to do that, I would probably expose it as an option for right now. It would be a throwaway option. It wouldn't be something that we want to do consistently. But I think in this particular context, like you do still want to match it by default, per se, to at least get the behavior. Yeah. The challenge is if you're being used in an audit context versus an operational context, it's a different consideration. So I would at least, if that feels like the simplest thing then I think we just need to make it configurable.
Okay, I think that's doable. And then I guess I'm not sure. Like I know S3 has the denied methods annotation because there's so many of those API calls that it makes. Should I set that as well just to be consistent, or don't mess with it because that's kind of a different mechanism?
I think it's actually reasonable to annotate onto to use that annotation for sure. I think we separately, like S3 is one of the first resources from, I don't know, geez, like 7 years ago. And I think we've learned that that was not the right way to go, say, as far as auto-assembling all the documents versus making them separate filters, because we collect too much by default. Just noting separately, there's a desire, I think, to have an ability to limit that annotation from within the policy itself, like limit those queries, because if you have a lot of S3 policies, you can end up doing a bunch of queries for data that you don't care about.
Yeah, right.
That's a total aside. Sorry.
Okay, all right. I think that tells me what I need to know. So I will start working on this one pretty quickly next week when I get that. The guys that are consuming the output are yelling at me about this one, so the sooner it's fixed, the better. And in the meantime, I'm going to do I think what Stephen was saying, which is just look for that C7, have a policy that looks for the denied methods key being present, so at least we know which buckets are offensive and who to go and yell at. Okay, I'm done.
Anybody else? Any other ones burning?
Hey George, I had a couple
Sure.
PRs just to get quick eyes on. Should be pretty minor stuff. Sorry, I posted them in chat. I was trying to boom this and realized
I got you. No worries.
Thanks. Yeah, so this one, it looks like it was approved. I think it's still just waiting on a merge. This is just to add a has statement functionality to EFS.
All right, Sonny left, but I'll get this one on his radar for today.
Thank you. I think maybe there was a check that maybe stuck in it's hanging or something. So maybe just yeah. And then the other one, this is one that Jazz was working on. I think AJ had some feedback on this one, and just a heads up, I think Jazz made those changes, so it should be ready. I think for another look when you guys have time.
Yeah, I'll take a look at both of the. Actually, I think the previous one, that 7884, I think I went to merge it, and like you said, I think one of the checks was hanging.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just try to get that one pushed through. I saw Sunny already approved it too. That should be fine.
Okay. So are you going to try to merge that one then?
Try to merge both of these. I guess we'll try to get 7884 through first, because that one's like already the other one, 7939. I'll give another look. That one looked. I mean, I think I had approved it as it was before. If you went and added something else, that's great. I'll take a quick look at it.
Gotcha.
I don't imagine there's a problem there. I will try to get that one in there also. Thanks for mentioning both of those.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Cool. All right. Anything else? All right. If any of you are headed to AWS and want to hang out, feel free to ping me in Slack. We'd love to hang out with you, buy you dinner or something. With that, we will meet again in 2 weeks. So last chance. Anything else?
Hey, on that topic, George, you said that there's an events channel in the Slack, right?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
In the Slack, I create a hash events channel, and whatever event is upcoming, that's what we'll do it. So when we're at KubeCon, we'll use that channel. When we're at reInvent, we'll just use that channel.
Cool. Yeah, I'm just thinking if there's an event going on and people want to use that as some sort of a back channel or coordinate some kind of live. I mean, if anyone wants to do like live pairing remote stuff during that kind of time working on stuff, that's a good place to coordinate it.
Yeah, that's where we're gonna put I'll meet you at the booth in 30 minutes style conversations and stuff during conferences. So
great.
All right. And with that, happy holidays to those of you in the U.S. that celebrate. And we'll be at reInvent, so we'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate y'all coming out today. Cheers.
Thanks
Okay,
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.